Our Indian superstar Vidit Gujrathi has won the FIDE Grand Swiss tournament, and with this victory, he has booked his spot for the FIDE Candidates tournament, which will be held next year in the month of April in Canada. What an incredible feat for our Indian superstar, I will say. He started this tournament with a loss against Arvind Lamy, his very good friend. But after that, he picked up the space and he won 3 games in a row, and after that he was unstoppable. In the middle of the tournament, he was leading the tournament, and then he drew some games, and finally going into the last round, he was leading the tournament along with Hikaru Nakamura and Andrey Esipenko. In this game, he was paired against Alexander Predke, who is considered to be a very aggressive player, and with it managed to win this game in a very great style, I will say. He chose one opening which will give him some kind of an edge, but it will always keep the chances of drawing the game also, so that it was always balanced for him. And we are going to look at the game which he has won, the last round game, which earned him the spot for the candidates, guys. So guys, without delay, I will get straight to the game. In this game, Vidit Gujrathi was playing with the white pieces. His opponent Alexander Predke was black, and the game started with d4. Before we go further, for Vidit at least, you can definitely like this video, because the game which we are going to say is a very interesting game. I will be analyzing thoroughly, so do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new here, and guys, enjoy the video. Okay, so let's go further. He played d5 and now c4. One thing I would like to tell you that I looked at the videos, the interviews taken by Sagar after the game, and Vidit said like he chose d4 opening because of that he knew this thing that Predke plays e4 c5, which is an very interesting opening, and that was his main weapon also. So he decided to get into the positions where he is more comfortable, so he chose d4 instead of going for the Sicilian, which will create lots of complications. He wanted to have a stable game, so he played c4. And now the move which he played, d capture c4, which Predke already played against Vincent Keimer in this tournament, and it was not complete surprise. But what happened after this was with its main preparation. So after knight to f6, e3 was played, and then e6, bishop captures c4, and now here he plays a6. Well, here normally white plays castle, black plays c5, and after this most common move is to play knight to c3, and then maybe knight to c6 will be played. Then you can play queen to e2. If c captures d4 is played, then the rook d1 comes, and well, you cannot really keep the pawn on d4 square for a long time. e5, if you play this kind of a move, then of course we can just capture the pawn without any worries. And black usually needs to give up the pawn on d4, means he cannot really hold on to that pawn. Maybe you can play bishop e7, then e captures d4, and we get the typical isolated queen pawn position. And white has a lot of active pieces, I'll say. Queen is active, rook is active, knight, bishop, everything is active. This bishop is also going to come maybe on g5 or e3, followed by this rook coming on c1. We get the typical IQP position where white has a lot of space advantage and activity. So with it, decided not to play like this. He decided to capture on c5, and that is a very interesting choice, because after d capture c5, the queens will be off the board very quickly, and the result likely to be at least a draw, or white is the one who is going to press for the victory. Okay, so that's a very common idea, I will say. D capture c5 in this position, which he played bishop capture c5, although black could have first captured on d1, rook captures d1, and then bishop into c5. But then again bishop e2 comes back, and then followed by knight comes on d2 square, followed by knight c4 or knight to b3. So we'll see what happened in the game. In the game, he did not capture on d1. Instead of that, he captured on c5 immediately. Then queen captures d8, king captures d8. Now he came back as per the plan, because knight will be going to c4 square or something. And another reason why you might be thinking like, why to play bishop e2? The thing is like, black will be very happy to play b5 and followed by bishop b7, and b5 should be coming with a tempo because our bishop is on c4 square. So if white wants to avoid those things, then just coming back with bishop to e2 is a very good option. Okay, so here black plays king e7, knight d2 as per the plan. He plays bishop d7. Black wants to put the bishop on c6 before coming knight d7. Okay, And if he directly plays knight c6, that is also a possibility in the position, but he decided to play first bishop d7 in this position. Now Vidit goes for knight b3, attacking the bishop on c5. Okay, and as per as I said, like bishop b5 or a5, this kind of ideas were also there in the position. He plays bishop b6, saving the bishop, you can say, and after that Vidit plays bishop d2. Normal development is going on in the position. Black plays knight c6. Now the rooks are also connected, you can say. White's rooks are already connected, so no issues. Vidit plays bishop to c3, putting some pressure on this diagonal. Now the only problem in black's camp is the bishop on d7, which is not having that many squares in the position. And now black plays a move which I really did not understand when I was looking at the game, but now I understand as I have seen the game, that he played rook at g8, and I was wondering why did he play rook at g8. What was the point of playing that move? Maybe I thought like maybe he wants to move the knight, and if he moves the knight, then the pawn on g7 will be protected. But after realizing the things which happened in the game, I now know like rook g8 is played with some different idea. But I would like to say this thing also: if knight d5 is played or knight e4 is played, if white captures the pawn on g7, it will not be that easy position for white, because rook at g8 will be coming. Bishop needs to fall back somewhere. Wherever you fall back with a bishop, maybe on e5 or something, there will always be some constant pressure on the g2 pawn, and it is not that easy to play, I will say. Okay, so he plays rook at g8. We'll come back to the game here, and rook f d1 was played by Vidit. Vidit gets his pieces in the game. That is the quality which I really like about Vidit. He plays very stable moves, very concrete moves, and he plays according to the basic principles of chess. Like he always follows those things, like developing your pieces and going for simple things in the game, not going for direct attacks or something, premature attacks. No, he's not like that. He is a very balanced player. He knows that before going for any kind of attack or something like that, you need to get all your pieces in the game, and then only you should go for the attack. Very mature play. Of course, he is a 2700 player and he is a star, so he knows these things. Rook at d8 was played. Another interesting idea here was knight d5, and the bishop will be under attack. I think with it might save the bishop on e1 square or d2 square. He will not just give up the bishop. And apart from this, knight e4 is also an interesting option, going for the bishop on c3 square. Here, of course, Vidit can save the bishop, but there is another interesting move is there, that is knight e5. The point is, if you capture the c3 bishop, then white will be very happy to capture the bishop on d7 with a check, and if the king goes anywhere in the position, then we can capture the knight. Okay, and if knight captures knight, then we can capture the pawn, and rook on the 7th rank is a very strong piece, followed by this rook will also be coming in the game, and we'll be having the control of the d file. Plus Vidit also has the option of playing c4 c5 and advancing the c pawn, which is a passed pawn in the position. And well, white will be having great position, that's what I will say. Of course, black will save the bishop, no doubt about it, but after saving the bishop, I am talking about all the plans which I talked about. Okay, so of course knight e4 was one of the ideas, but after knight e5, white gets a very good position. So maybe because of that, he first decided to play rook a d8 and save or protect the bishop on d7. Okay, now he plays rook a c1, getting another piece in the game. And now the move which he played clears the idea of why did he play rook g8 in the position. He wanted to play g5, that was his idea. And of course, g5's idea is to play g4 and expand on the king side here in the position. With it goes for knight of d4, offering the exchange of the knights here. Knight captures d4, and now here any normal player will go for knight captures d4, which is okay move, which is not a big blunder or something like that. But with it plays a move which I really like. He plays bishop b4 check in an intermediate move. Why is he playing that move? Because he wants to break the connection between the rooks. That is very important. And another thing is that he will be having very good control over this diagonal. So black always needs to take care of not getting under the fire. Another thing which you can see, that the rook is also getting opened up. This rook is already going to be on a good file, you can say. Now knight captures g4, a very normal move. G4 move, was played, and now here in this position he comes back on b3. This move actually puzzled me a lot when I was looking at the game, to be honest. Like, why did he go again to d4 and come back to b3 square? But now I realize this thing, that he wants to actually come on c5 or a5 square so that he can put some pressure on b7 pawn. Okay, from either of the square he will be putting pressure. So here black plays rook g5, stopping knight c5 kind of idea, knight a5 kind of idea. But okay, Vidit had the c5 square, he plays this thing. Now in this position bishop c8 was necessary in order to protect the pawn on b7, you can say. But black decided to play bishop c6, which is not that great idea. And in this position white has a very nice move. Vidit spotted that move. He played knight captures a6. Well, I think for Predke it came as a surprise, because who loses the pawn like this, right? If you capture here, then rook will be capturing the c6 bishop and white will be just pawn up in the position for no real compensation for black. And if you do any other moves in this position, still white is going to be a pawn up. But here in this position one very tricky move was there, that was bishop to f3. And just to let you know, if black also think that, oh, you have captured my pawn and let me also capture back the pawn, bishop g2 might be one of the moves, then knight c7 is actually an interesting option in the position. Bishop captures c6 and rook captures c6 will be there. But in this case you can say, okay, this will be played and black will still try to survive. But here I think better option is just to capture on g2. This is the like easy move, and after bishop captures, king captures g2, you will be getting perfectly fine position, because if you capture here, then rook capture on d8, whatever piece you capture on d8, then bishop captures a6, and white is having these two extra pawns on the queen side, which will lead to a winning position very soon, I think so. Okay, but in the game bishop f3 was the challenging move, I will say. And here the thing is that if you capture here, then no matter where you move the king, most probably on f1, and this will be captured, and black will be kind of happy to play this position, because he has opened up the position, he has opened some things, and he will be getting a piece also in the position. So that's not something which Vidit wants to do in the position. After bishop to f3, the best move is to play h4, attacking the rook. And if you move the rook anywhere, let's suppose you play to g7 or something, then in that case you can first maybe capture on bishop to b5 is actually a good move. H4 idea was h4 was to get this square for the bishop, because the rook will be moving from that square. And now if knight d7 or whichever move you play in the position, because the king cannot really go anywhere, like, right? So whatever move you play, knight d7 or something, then you will be getting the piece for sure. There will be simple I think we can just capture on d7, rook will capture on d7, and then we can even give this check first. Bishop will be coming on d8 square, and well, I think knight c7 is a good idea, and it's a checkmate. Okay, fine. So that's the one of the things which can be done in the position. So h4 is a very interesting move. In the game he played knight d7, which is also a good idea, I will say. Then he saves the bishop from anywhere. He plays one waiting move also, you can say. Rook 8 comes, the knight on a6 and under attacks. He plays bishop to d6. Although in this position you cannot really capture, and he is maintaining the bishop on the diagonal, which is very crucial diagonal, I will say. Bishop a4 attacking the rook on d1 square here in this position. He plays bishop to f4 attacking the rook on g5, and now he plays rook a5 move. And in this position, the move which was played, I really like. He saved the knight here with knight c7 check, bishop captures c7, and the rook comes on bishop comes on c6 c7 square, bishop captures d1, and then bishop captures a5. After all the captures, you can say the dust has settled, and white is just simply pawn up. On the queen side he has one extra pawn on this position, and now knight comes on e5 square. Well, rook captures a2 seems to be very tempting, but after bishop to b5, black will be losing the piece, so he cannot do that thing. He plays knight e5 getting and now he plays a good move, that is a4. White is saying like, okay, you cannot really capture on a4 because of the obvious move bishop b5, and the rook will be falling. So here he plays rook to c5, and now he plays the next move, rook d4. Rook c1 comes, pinning the bishop here, you can say, but now rook to b4 attacking the pawn on b7, and here he plays rook b1. There is a trap in the position, like with it, if in the position captures the b7 pawn, then the knight comes on c4 square and knight d2 is coming on the board, and white will be losing the piece for sure. Okay, so b7 pawn cannot be captured. So with it, to make some space for his king, he plays the f4 move, g captures f3, g captures f3, knight captures f3. Although Vidit has lost one pawn on the king side, he's going to get the pawn on the b7 and the game will be very easy. Knight d2, the bishop is under attack, so he plays bishop d3, attacking the rook on b1 square. Now rook e1, attacking the pawn on e3. Vidit probably gains some time by playing king f2, rook h1, and then again king to g2. And after this gaining some time, he said like, okay, no problem, if you want to capture the e3 pawn, you can capture it. I will go for the b7 pawn. His opponent captures the pawn on e3. He gives a check, bishop was under attack, king to f8, and now the pawn marches forward very easily. a5 was played, rook to e5. Now he moves the pawn further without worries about anything. Rook to g5 check, king f2, knight e4 check. All he needs to do is like stop the checks. Once the checks are stopped in this position, then the a7 a8 is going to be queen in the position. So he plays king e3, attacking the knight. Knight goes to d6 square. The rook is under attack, but Vidit says no problem, I'm going to push the pawn to the queening square. He plays a7, and after a7, rook check, king to f3, another check, king g2, rook g5 check, and king h1, and all the checks are stopped in the position, and his opponent just resigned. It is a very emotional moment also for Vidit that he has won. He was so happy. I have seen the video, and all our friends, our Indians, and everybody is very happy with it, with its performance, I will say. And I hope that he will win the candidates. He will become the world chess champion also in the next year. 2024 will be amazing year for our Indian chess. I know this thing. With this all this in like game analysis and everything, I take your leave for today, but we will be meeting very soon with next video. Till that moment, take care and love you all. Don't forget to write in the comment section, Vidit OP should be there, and see you then. Thank you very much.